guys, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. I'm Miss Sarah, and today we're going to be painting Spider-Man. Really excited about Spider-Man. He's so fun. We are going to be using a couple of brushes, a flat, a medium flat, and a detail brush. These are my favorite for this painting, but if you have a number 6 round instead of a medium flat, that works great too. Okay, so don't stress it too much. You guys ready to get started? Let's go. Now, as we're painting, remember to be nice to yourself because we are all learning together, right? And learning how to paint is a process. So be kind to yourself and try and have a good time, okay? Let's not stress out too much. Especially with Spider-Man, he has a lot of lines. Lines are tricky. They just are. They take time to learn. So be patient. It'll come. It's kind of just about training your wrist to do these lines, and we're going to talk about water and consistency with our paint consistency. Okay, background first, right? So as you can see here on my plate, I have all my colors laid out. This makes it really easy for me. So if you have our little cups of paint, go ahead and spread them out so you can see them and easily access them. We're going to do our background first. So I have blue and white here. I'm going to mix some blue with my white. Okay, you can make this blue as dark or as light as you want. I like to start with a little bit of blue because it's just easier to add dark to light, right? So we're going to just add a little bit of blue at a time here till I like the color. All right, that's pretty good. I like it. Now, another tip, I don't mix when I do my background, I pat. Okay, because I like these different swirls. You see how there's light blue, dark blue, different tones here? I like that. So I'm not going to mix it. If you want to, it'll just be a little more flat, which is totally fine. Now we're going to brush up and down as we put in this background. Up and down. And you notice I have white streaks and I have dark streaks. That's because I didn't mix my paint. Okay. And I like having those streaks in my background for Spider-Man. I think it makes it really fun. Now the trick to doing this is you want to go around the head, doing our best not to paint inside the lines. I know it's very tricky. It's okay if you go in because acrylic paint is really great about coverage. We can just cover it right back up. Make sure you add water to your paint if you feel like you have pockets showing up on your canvas. Those little white pockets are sometimes tricky to fill. I want to make sure you have white and blue and lots of water on your brush. Okay, so I'm going to keep my brush going up and down, paint around the head. I like to slow down as I do this. It's a great car in the background. Sorry about that. Here we go. We're going to go up and down. Keeping those streaks alive. Okay. It's okay if you paint into the head a little bit at this point because your red will cover it up. But you don't want to lose your line, your outline. So if you feel like you're nervous about that, then don't paint inside the head, okay? That's totally a personal preference. Okay, so if you notice, I just keep that brush going. Just keep it going up and down in that direction so those strokes really show up. You can also reach around the side of your canvas and paint the side. I love these white streaks, so I just leave those alone. Okay, there we go. So reach around your canvas and go ahead and paint the edges. Now your canvas is smaller than mine, so these shoulders here are going to go right off your canvas. Mine don't. That's why it looks a little bit different. So you will just go right across to the edge there and paint the side of your canvas instead of all the way down like me. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up this side. So I'm going to go around the head. This background takes a little bit of time. Be patient with yourself as you do it. I'm pretty used to filling this in quickly. It's going to take you some time. So if you need to pause this video, go ahead and do it. And keep working on it. You don't need to go as fast as this. Okay, so as you can see, I paint all the way down here on the edge. You're not going to do that. You'll have your shoulders going right there. Okay, but those white strokes are fun. If you aren't getting those strokes, a tip is just put a little bit of white on the corner of your brush and brush it in. So I can add some white to the corner like this and just put those streaks in. Do the same thing with dark blue. If you want more dark blue in there, add a little bit to the corner of your brush and brush it in. See that? Okay, it's a quick way to do it if you feel like you didn't quite get as much white in there as you want. Okay, now that our background's in, you want to paint your sides and the top and the bottom. We're going to start Spider-Man. I'm going to mix white with my red. Next, make sure you rinse your brush really well. You don't want to mix any blue with your red, it'll turn purple. So we don't want purple, we want red. But I'm going to mix a little bit of white in it. It just goes on a little easier. And we'll add some shading as we go. But I'm going to start at the bottom because my blue paint might be a little bit wet around the head. So it's easier to start at the bottom so I don't smear my paint. And you can also paint the bottom of your canvas. So wrap around the bottom, okay? Here we go. There we go. Go ahead and paint that area. Nice and easy, just fill it in. We don't need to worry too much about shading or anything like that right now. Right now, we just want to fill it in with red. And we can come back to it in a little bit and do all that extra stuff. Now let's keep going. We're going to paint the head as well. Let's go right around the head. I'm not going to paint inside my eyes. I want to be really careful not to do that. Those eyes are tricky to get that outline, so we're going to be really careful and slow down. If you notice, I'm not picking up my brush right as I go around the edges. I want to try and keep that as smooth as I can. But don't stress it too much. We're going to outline it here in a little bit. And that outlining will clean up anything that might be bugging you. So don't worry too much about it, but we'll do our best. Okay, and you want to try and keep your brush strokes going in a rainbow shape when you're doing the head. The way it looks like the mask is going around his forehead. Your brush strokes will really show up and give you that detail without working too hard if you move that direction. Okay, so we're going to go around the eyes now. Trying not to pick up my brush. Keep your brush loaded. Make sure you have enough water. There we go. I'm going to go around the eye here. I'm going to try not to pick it up. If you have enough water on your brush, you can usually make it without picking it up. There we go. Okay, now as you go around the corner here between the eye and the head, use the toe of your brush. It's like your brush is standing on its tippy toes. Okay, so you're going to go around that using the toe. You'll turn your brush so it's standing on its tippies and go all the way around there. So anytime you have a small area, you don't usually need to switch brushes. You just have to adjust a little bit. Okay, now we're going to do it around here, and I don't want to lose sight of where my chin is. So I like to leave a little bit of white until I get my shading on there. So if you notice I have white around my chin and I didn't paint it, that's why. It gives me that guide. Because I'm going to put black in there in a minute. I don't want to lose where my chin is at. I'll go around the eye. Okay, so now we're going to go between the head and the eye here. And I'll show you. I'm going to turn my brush. I'm using my tippy toenail of my brush. And I'm going to go around the head. Just like that. If you're shaky like me, it's all right. Remember, it's a painting, not a print. All those little things just give it character. All right, lovely. So we have our red in. Now we get to start the fun stuff, which is all the shading. Okay, So first, I'm not going to rinse my brush. We're going to leave the red on there. And I'm going to add just a touch of black to it. It's very important that you just use a tiny little bit of black because it will just take over your painting. So a little tip, you're going to put black on the corner with your red, just like this, and then wipe it off a little bit on the plate. If you notice here, as I wipe it off, it fades a little more, okay? And that way I don't go straight to my canvas and just dilute my red with all this black. You'll be very sad if that happens because your Spider-Man will just turn black, okay? But we want to add a little bit of this black shade to the top of the head, okay? Just like that. Just a little bit. Gives it some dimension. So this head doesn't look flat, right? Acrylics and painting, it's all about building on our work to bring this image to life, right? If you notice a little bit of white showing up in my painting like that, it's because, again, when I mix my red, I dab it, I don't mix it completely. So sometimes I get different shading in my painting, which I like. It just saves me some time. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit more black here to the corner, wipe it off of my palette or my plate here. Now we're going to add a little bit of a shadow under the chin. So I'm going to come right down here to where I left that white and float that black shadow around my chin. Now remember, a little bit of black goes a long ways, right? If you notice, it really does. I even wipe mine off and you can see how dark that shadow is, huh? So just remember, it goes a long ways. You want to just try and float it, point that corner up with the black on it towards your chin and float back and forth. As you do that, you'll see that a shadow starts to happen, right? And it separates your chin from your neck. There, okay? So it gives it that dimension. All right. Now you can float the whole head if you want, like this with your black, and go all the way around. I'm not going to. I'm going to outline it for you guys with a detail brush here in a little bit. Some of you like to float, and that's what I would suggest you do next if that's what you want to do. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I have enough black there to add that dimension. Now, let's go around the chin, make sure that shadow really shows up. And it looks good. I like it. So I'm going to rinse my brush now. Now that you've added the black, we're going to add a little bit of light to the top of the head. Okay, so once you've added the black there, you're going to rinse your brush really well and put a little bit of white on the corner now. Just like you did with the black, I'm going to put some white. I brush it off too, just a little bit on my plate here, so it's not too strong. We're just going to add a little bit of a white highlight just to the top. Okay, I want mine to show a little more, so I'm going to add more white. And my red paint and my black is still a little wet. I'm doing this while it's all wet so that it fades and blends into my painting. I like that. Okay, so we add a little bit of light to the top there. And then we're going to rinse our brush again. Good work, guys. Make sure you rinse that brush really well. And set it aside. I'm going to switch brushes now. We're going to start working on the eyes. So I want to use my smaller flat. If you have a number 6 round, that works great too. I'm going to use a flat because the first thing we're going to do is put the black in around our eye. So add some water to your brush again. Rinse it in your jar or your cup of water. And let's load it with some black here. Okay. Now you'll see you have 2 different shapes here for your eyes, right? The center one is for the white. So we're going to do the black first. And we want to really try to stay in our lines the very best we can, okay? So if I have enough water and paint on my brush, I can do a pretty long brush stroke without picking it up. And that gives us that smooth line. Okay. Now if you notice, I started to lose my paint there, right? Usually means my brush is too dry or my paint has seized up a little bit and I need to add water to it. So if you notice a lot of white pockets showing up, that's usually the case. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go around here, trying really hard to make it around without picking up my brush. Best I can. And I'm doing the left eye first because I'm a righty. And I will put my hand in my paint over here if I did that eye first. So a lot of times you'll learn as you paint to give yourself steps that allow you to put your wrist down on your canvas and give yourself a little more control as you're painting these shapes. Now since the center of my eye is white, I'm not going to paint it white. You can if you want, but because my canvas is white, I don't need to. Unless, of course, I put my hand in something and smear a color in there. That happens. Then I've got to paint it white, but usually I don't need to. I can just leave it. To the corner. This step takes a little bit of time because you got to pay attention and really work to stay inside those lines and those shapes. So take your time. And remember, if there's ever a little smudge, it's okay. No big deal. Okay, because I'm a righty, painting on the left side without moving my canvas is a little tricky. There we go. Come wrap it around. Follow it up. There we go. Spider-Man is coming to life, guys. We just have to keep adding all the little details. Now by the time we get to the lines, you guys are going to be all warmed up and ready to go. We're going to come around here. Go. Nice and smooth there. All right, we got the eye on that side. Let's go ahead and do this side. Trying not to pick up the brush. Remember to use the toe of your brush as well if you're using a flat. If you're using a number 6 round, this is probably a little easier for you to get those corners with. I love using that brush. So if you have that one, great. That'll make all those areas a little easier for you. Okay, we're gonna come right up here. Believe it or not, Spider-Man's eyes shape is a little tricky, right? Getting it right, so I want to try and keep the shape here. We love to see what you guys come up with though. Every time we paint this one with our artists, they have gotten really creative with the eyes. We love to see what you guys do. So if you want to change it up, go for it. Okay, we're going to wrap around this one. Nice, that one went on without me having to reload. Okay, let's get around the bottom here. Connect that edge. There it is. Okay, that was tricky, guys. Once you guys get those eyes on, you are ready for this outlining. Piece of cake. We got this. Okay, looking good. Let those eyes dry for a second. I'm gonna rinse my brush. Really good, because this black, it is hard to get out of our brush sometimes, so you really want to rinse it well. Double check it. Okay. All right, okay, I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of a shade to the white, okay? So once again, it won't look so flat. All you're going to do is take a clean flat brush, put a tiny bit of black on the corner. Tiny bit. I'm going to wipe it off on my plate again here. Make sure I wipe most of it off, right? Because you'll see that your brush isn't clean like I did. All right, once you have that, little tiny black on the corner, wipe it off on your canvas like this, okay? You want it gray, not too black here, just slightly gray. We're just gonna add a little bit of shading here, right at the base of the eyes. You're just gonna brush back and forth, just like that, and you're gonna do it on both sides. There you go, just make yourself a smiley face shape along the base of your eye. You can make it as big as you want, okay? I even took the leftovers up here up top. Okay, cool. Rinse your brush again. There we go. All right, you guys ready for this? Here we go. We're gonna start all those lines. So get yourself a really good detail brush. We're gonna need a good one, okay? And the first thing we want to do is make the nose. Add a lot of water to your black. That is key to doing any detail work, outlining. You want to make sure this black is very inky, okay? So I like to add quite a bit of water to it. I keep dipping until I feel like there's a good amount of water in there. Okay, spin your brush. It gives you a nice point. So you want to spin it in your paint. All right, and let's go ahead and first put the nose in. It gives us our center. And we're going to start at the very tip of each edge of our eye and create a triangle shape. But it's not straight up. I kind of curve it a little bit so it looks like a smile. Okay, we're going to do it on both sides, just like that. All right, see how it looks like a triangle, but you did it in a smile shape. Now at the bottom part, you are going to do it like a frowny shape instead of a smile. So we're now going to go looping it like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now you're going down on that one. So you're in the opposite direction and you have 3 loops, but that right there gives us our center. So now we can start working towards the center with our lines. Okay. All right, here we go. First thing I like to do is do my center line straight up. It just shows me where the center of my head is, and it acts as a guide for the rest of them. Now when I do this line, I don't go straight up the center of the head. I'm going to curve it slightly so it looks like my head is round rather than flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and start going up. We're going to pull away from the nose, right? And I'm going to keep my brush kind of slanted here. I'm going to curve it. See that? So you're coming up and you're curving it right at the top. Okay. Now our next line here is going to curve the opposite direction. So we're going to start here in the center of our eye, and we're going to come up and curve it slightly the opposite direction. See how it makes our head look round? Now on this side, we're going to come up here to the corner, and once again, curve that line just slightly. There we go. Good work. Okay, now we're going to come over and add the other side the same way, only we're curving the same direction as our center line. So I'm going to come right here to the center of my eye. Okay. Come up and curve it slightly that direction. And then over here we got to add one more on the corner of our eye and do the same thing, curve it that direction. There we go. Good work, guys. Let's go ahead and do our mouth now. Okay, now we're going to build off our nose again. Start here in the center, and you have both these 2 triangle shapes, right, that are slightly curved. You're going to start with each one. That's where the center of our mask is, and you're gonna curve slightly out, just like that, away from the nose, towards your chin. You're gonna go on either side of your chin, curving out, okay? All right, now we're gonna come from the eye, do the same thing, curving out. There we go. You have another one on this side, curving out. Nice work. We're gonna have another one here, curving out. There we go. And one more here. So both sides are the same. Okay, let's let that dry. So when we put our hand on it to do the center spider webs, we don't smear it. Let's go ahead and do the neck. All right. First thing I'm going to do is just outline the shoulder. That way it's done. We're going to outline the head too, but I like to do the lines first because then I can clean up the lines as I go around, but our lines aren't building off our shoulder. So I can go ahead and outline those first. We're going to go ahead and fill that in right off your canvas. Now our shoulder lines don't really necessarily have a specific pattern, okay, but you want to make him look muscly, right? So the idea is to curve our lines to give the illusion that he's really muscly. So I'm going to start here and just curve it slightly as I go, just like that. Just gives him a little bit of that detail in his neck, because as we know, Spider-Man is very strong, right? Fast, so we want to kind of give him those lines without them being too straight. And if your brush pressure makes it thicker in some areas, that's okay too. You can go on either side of the neck, or the chin, not the neck, either side of the neck for that. Okay, we're gonna come straight down here. And we'll add one more little muscly line here. Dip down. There we go. There we go. Hey, he's looking good, guys. He's looking good. Okay, let that neck dry. We're gonna start now up here on the head. I'm gonna outline it now very carefully. You wanna go ahead and go all the way around your Spider-Man's head and outline him. You can make this thick or thin, just depends on how hard you're pressing with your detail brush. But if you have enough water on your brush, usually you can make it around without having to stop and reload. Go. I'm going to try and come all the way around here without picking up my brush too much. I need more water in my black. You can kind of tell when you need more water. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and finish off this side. Blend that together. We're going to come around the chin. Even though you have that shadow, you still want to add that outline because the shadow isn't as dark as your outline. Okay, so this will finish it up for you. That's what we were talking about with that white I left, so I can see where my chin is, because it kind of gets lost in the paint. I wanted to be able to see it to outline. Here we go. Good work. All right, let's start adding the center to our spider web. Okay, now remember, when we come across, we don't want straight lines for our spider web, okay? We want to keep it curved, so we're gonna curve it like a smiley face as we come across, right? And these are kind of lined up. I have them pretty lined up here. We're just gonna bring them across. keep it curving as you go. Okay, here's our second one here. I start where my line ends, or begins, I guess it depends on how you look at it on that one. We're going to keep our brush curving as we go across. And again, if you have enough water in your brush, this should go pretty quick for you. Okay, our next one starts kind of on the corner of our eye here. We're going to start right there, come across. We're going to keep it kind of an even distance, but it's okay if it's not perfect on that one. Okay, good job, guys. Looking good. All right, now with the bottom part, our curves are going to go down. So you're doing more of a rainbow shape as you do this bottom part, okay? So you're going to switch your brush movement to go down rather than up. Here we go. We're going to go down as we go across. There we go. And we're going to come over here and do the same thing. It kind of goes down. Here we go. Cool. Okay, so we have the face done. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up the neck. And again, your lines are going to go down. Okay, our circles are going more of a rainbow shape this time as you go, rather than straight across. You can add these however you like. Okay. Don't have to follow my pattern exactly. It's whatever you like to do. And come back up this way, but just keep your brush moving the same direction. And that's really going to do it for you. Okay, our last ones. I'm going to fill in the space. Finish that off. Cool, looks so great. Okay, now that we've added all of our lines, let's rinse our brush. We're just going to add the light now to really brighten up Spider-Man. So I rinsed my detail brush really well, and I'm going to add white to the corner of my brush. Rinse it really well. Now, if your black is still really wet, you want to wait a second because you want these highlights to stand out and not turn gray. So just make sure your black lines are dry before we do this next step. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. So again, I don't smear my paint as I go. I'm really good at doing that. I put my hand in it frequently and just smear it. So you can add this light wherever you like. Just want to think about where the light is hitting him. Okay, I'm just going to follow a couple of these. Not all of them. But light really brightens up a painting, doesn't it? It just really does. Okay, right along the top of each eye, we're going to add just a little bit of light there to that one. And then come over to this side and add some there. They don't have to be the same. Okay, we'll add a little bit here to this part of his face. And now let's add some to his neck. Now I'm not going to add any under his chin because remember that's a shadow, right? So we're not going to add some. I got some red on my brush, so I'm going to rinse that really quick. There we go. Put some white back on it. So I'm going to add that light here on the side of his neck, on either side of his head, rather than under his chin. where he needs to have that shadow. All right. There. Now let's go to the other side and add a little bit of light over here. Anywhere you're feeling it. All right. Did I miss anything? It looks so great. Can't wait to see your guys' Spider-Mans. Good work on those lines. I really know what it takes to figure out how to do outlining, so it just takes practice. Be really nice to yourself and patient as you do this, okay? Because what you just did is fantastic, and we can't wait to see it, so be sure to tag us. And the last thing we're gonna do is sign our name. Every artist should sign their work, right? Super important. Find a special place to put your name. I kind of like to follow my image a lot of times when I sign. I tend to just follow a spot and just put that name on there because we're proud of our work. And thank you so much for painting with me, guys. We'll see you next time.